Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Puan Rohana and all of my friends. My name is Elly Kasih binti Ahmad and I am from 5 Gigih. Today, I would like to present about application of Archimedes principle. But before that, I would like to have some quick revision about Archimedes principle. What is Archimedes principle? Archimedes principle states that an object which is partially or fully immersed in a fluid will experience a buoyant force equal to the weight of fluid displaced. At the bottom of the slide, I also include the formula. Number 1, buoyant force is equal to the weight of water displaced is equal to the rho Vg. Number 2, buoyant force is equal to the weight of water displaced is equal to the weight of object is equal to the rho Vg. Now, let's proceed on how Archimedes principle is applied. As you guys can see at the background of the slide, there is a picture of the ship. What is it about? Archimedes principle is applied by Plimsoll line. What is Plimsoll line? Plimsoll line is the reference mark located on a ship's hull that indicates the maximum depth to which the vessel may be safely immersed when loaded with cargo. The Plimsoll line mark on the body of the ship acts as a guide to ensure that the ship is loaded within the safe limits. This is the example on how Plimsoll line looks alike on the body of the ship. Now, there is one question. How can ship that is very heavy but it can float on the surface of the sea? The answer is because buoyant force is equal to the weight of the ship. It is same as what I mentioned before about the Archimedes principle. The buoyant force acting on the ship is large enough because the ship is hollow and the volume of water displaced by the ship is sufficiently large. When the question asks you to find the buoyant force, you can use this formula, which is the buoyant force is equal to the rho Vg. This is same as the formula I have said before in Archimedes principle. Number 2, buoyant force is equal to the weight of water displaced is equal to the weight of object is equal to the rho Vg. How to read a Plimsoll line? This is the example on how Plimsoll line looks like. AB stands for American Bureau of Shipping, TF stands for Tropical Freshwater Load Line, F stands for Freshwater Load Line, T stands for Tropical Zones Load Line, S stands for Summer Load Line, W stands for Winter Load Line, WNA stands for Winter North Atlantic Load Line. But I will not explain it now, I will explain it later on the other slide. Let's proceed to the next slide first. Factors that influence the volume of water displaced. There are 3 factors. Number 1, type of water. Number 2, weight of the load. And number 3 is season. Let's take a look for each of the factors for more detail. Number 1, type of water. For example, there are 2 ships. One ship is in the sea water and one ship is in the river water. A ship will submerge deeper in river water than in the sea water. Why? This is because the density of seawater is greater than the density of a river water. The volume of water displaced in the seawater less than in river water. The relationship between the density of water and volume of water displaced that we can make is the greater the density of water, the lower the volume of water displaced. Number 2, weight of the load. For example, there are 2 ships. One ship is loaded with extra load on it, and one ship doesn't have a load on it. From the observation, the hull of the ships will sink deeper in the water if the extra weight is put into it. Why? This is because the weight of the ship that has extra load on it is greater than the weight of the ship that doesn't have a load on it. The buoyant force of the ship that has extra load on it is greater than the buoyant force of the ship that doesn't have a load on it. The relationship that we can make from weight of the load and the volume of water displaced is, the greater the mass of the load, the greater the volume of water displaced. And it causes the ship to sink more deeper compared to the ship that doesn't have a load on it. And the last one is season. Season also influences the volume of water displaced. How it's happened? As you guys can see from the picture, there are warm freshwater and cold seawater. Warm freshwater actually stands for tropical freshwater, while the cold seawater actually stands for winter North Atlantic load line, as what I mentioned before about how to read a Plimsoll line. So from the picture, warm freshwater has a low density, while the cold seawater has a high density. Warm freshwater, or known as tropical freshwater, has the smallest density compared with water elsewhere. Because of that, in tropical freshwater, the ship needs to displace more water to have enough buoyant force to support the weight of the ship. So that's why seasons play an important role to influence the volume of water displaced. That is all from me now. I hope this can help you to understand it more clearly. Thank you very much and Assalamualaikum.